Hello. Sorry about that. My little phone here decided that we were going to stream in portrait, but we're not. We're in landscape, so I had to shut down and restart it up again. Hence why I'm 1.5 minutes late. How the devil are you? You're all doing marvelously well. It is 11:02 on a Thursday morning, and I am just going to open up my own YouTube here in the background. You rock. Love you all too. So are we all here to talk about drums? Are we ready to talk about drums? Give me a yes. Give me a drums. Give me a hello in Portland, Oregon. Yes. Where are you from, and are you ready to talk about drums? How about that? Two things at once. All right. Okay. Give me 1 second. I am opening up drums. Drum roll. Yes. Drum roll, please. Dum-de-dum-dum-dum. Hello, Frankfurt. I hope you're all doing marvelously well there. I am just opening up my own YouTube channel so I can read the comments quicker than I can on the phone. So firstly, there is 124 there. Would you please like and share? And that would be absolutely amazing. How do I add the human touch to MIDI drums and samples with a live feel? That's something we'll definitely touch upon. For sure. And dum-de-dum-dum-dum. Sorry, we went from just filming straight into this. And our good friend Eric was supposed to be here before 11, and he's still not here. God bless him. So we're a little bit behind. He works a lot of hours. Not quite as much as me, but he works a lot of hours, so we'll forgive him, shall we? All right. Do I use Transient Designers? Yes, hello in Germany. Yes, we do use Transient Designers. Eric, says Harry. Hello in Battleground, Washington. I hope you're all doing marvelously well. Here we go. Thank you. There's 158 people watching. Would you all hit the like button? That would be absolutely amazing. Okay, now the comments are up and I can start reading all of the comments. All right, so drum recording. I have seen a lot of videos about drum recording, and I decided let's talk about it specifically. Thank you for liking and sharing. If you haven't already, please like and share. Hit that like button. That would be absolutely great. There's a lot of great questions coming by. I'm going to answer questions, but first of all, we're going to talk about the things. All right. What is the most important thing in drum recording? I think it's two things, and I think they are equally as important. I can see all these amazing questions coming in, and I'm going to talk about all of them. But the two most important things, there's lots of great points, but the two most, and they are in no particular order. These 2 points are completely and utterly interchangeable. And I expect to see somebody doing a video about what I'm talking about on YouTube in like next week. There'll be a video on this subject. There always is. We talk about something and then somebody does a video on it. So, and if all of you out there have YouTube channels, feel free to make your own videos. I think there's such a proliferation now of people making videos. I encourage it. Let's say, why didn't all of you start tuition channels and just like help each other? You know, just do it. Get in there and create channels. All right. Anyway, the two most important things. I've seen a couple of people answer it already. What are the two most important things? Interchangeable are the drums. And when I say the drums, I mean like how they sound. Are they in tune? Do they go boom? Or do they go doom? Does the snare go crack? Or does it go poof, poof? Does the kick go thud, thud? Or does it go plither, plither? Right? And first of all, it starts with, do the drums sound good? But equally as important, what's the other thing? The drummer. They're both as important as each other, because when I've heard great drum recordings, or when I've created great drum recordings, they're always a combination of factors. And those factors are things like the drums sounded great. There was some Gretsch or Ludwig shells. They were in a beautiful room. you know, they were so well tuned. They had new heads on them, or they had old heads on them, depending on what sound we were going for. And then secondly, and just as importantly, the drummer knew how to play them. So those are the two most important things. And the next thing really, well, somebody's saying timing here, but if your drummer's playing, I respect your point. If your drummer's playing super evenly in a you know, beautifully tuned drum kit in a great room, it's very easy to move a snare drum that he misses every now and then, play slightly late or early. In the digital world that we live in, that stuff is easy to fix when we hear a mistake. If we don't like a drum fill from take 3, but we like it from take 1, we fly take 1's drum fill into it. Bada boom, bada bing. The world is easier now. That stuff was always done, but it was done on tape and it was spliced. They used to sit there and take a grease pencil and just mark off the beginning and the end of a fill, chop it out, take another fill from another take and chop it in. We've always done things that are just easier to do now. Those things are fixable to an extent. What is not Chinograph, thank you, Ron, English, or British, I should say. I don't want to offend anybody. As a guy who's half Irish, which is definitely not Britain, it's Ireland. Anyway, the point is like, fixing things is not really what we're about here. We know we can fix stuff. We know in a mix we can throw a kick and a snare sample against the drums if they, hello, I have a Scottish aunt and uncle. I have Welsh relatives, Irish relatives, Scottish relatives, and English, of course. So God bless Britain. Anyway, my point is, the reality is, bye Andrew. The reality is that we can fix many things. What we can't fix is the drummer, the way that he plays in the room, and the sound of the drums initially. And that, if you're fixing something, it's because those are the two things, the first two things that are at fault. So how do we solve that? And to be honest, the room, unless it's absolutely dreadful, can be dealt with quite easily. If you're in a garage and it's concrete and it's got a big steel door, it's going to be massively, loads of standing waves going everywhere. It's going to be the brightest thing you've ever heard. However, blankets, padding, mattresses, all those things that we do can be stuffed in that place till it's dead enough. I've recorded in warehouses, which is not as beautiful as you think. It's great for the kick, the snare, crash, but they were so bright that I had to build baffles around it, and they were homemade baffles. You know, you can get rid of all situations, but back to the point, the two most important things are initially the drums, and equally, if not more important, depending how you look at it, is the drummer. So why is that? Well, number one, if the drums sound like poop, they sound like poop. If the tom, like I said, is bleh, you're going to be sound replacing it. You're going to be editing in a different tom. You're going to be spending a long time EQing out like boomy horribleness. You need to get those toms in tune. Now, secondly, getting asked all the time. Yeah. Secondly, getting asked all the time is like tuning drums. There's no one way to tune a drum. You can tune to the key of the song. Listen to like that live free stuff like Fire and Water. You hear that do 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 boom. You hear the toms tuned. I think it's like root third, fifth or something. I can't remember. I'd have to go back. But they're in the key of the song, and it's absolutely, well, it's probably 5, 3, 1, if the 1 was the lowest, unless it was a fifth and a third below. I can't remember off the top of my head. But the point is there's quite often songs. I don't even know if it's that song, but there are songs you hear, particularly from the 60s and 70s, where the toms were tuned to the key of the song. Hey, be here before 11, Mr. Eric Gonzalez. Yes. All right, Matt has just sent me a text to remind you we are having a competition. We're going to do 2 giveaways during this video. There's 225 of you online at the moment. All you have to do is say, what do you want, Matt? What do you want them to say? Drum recording? Do you want them to say produce like a pro? And what are we saying here, Matt? Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to give away He says, produce like a pro, or plap, just produce like a pro. So what you do is just in the comments now, just say, produce like a pro. And do me a favor, not only say produce like a pro, say where you are. Because I love knowing where everybody's from. Yep. You know, just put that in as well. If that would be fantastic. I love knowing where everybody in the world is. And what Matt did, we did this a couple of days ago, is he will randomly pick somebody from the list, Plap in Toronto, Kentucky, and we're doing a giveaway of all of our drum recording bundles, which is, I believe, 2 from Matt Starr. I know we did 1 and we did a supplement course, and also Matt Weiss, that you may know from the Pro Audiophiles, who's a good friend of ours, and the Pro Audiophiles are good people. We love them dearly. And so Denmark, Argentina, 20 miles from me, Sweden. So just write produce like a pro or plap and where you're from, Chicago. Stay on for at least the next 10 or 15 minutes, because Matt in about 15, maybe even 20 minutes will announce who the winner is on here, and then you will text him or you'll message him your email address and he will send you that free bundle. And then before the end, we're going to do it again. We're going to give away 2 free bundles. So if you miss out, you can stay on and do that. Mexico, Kentucky, Hong Kong, Ohio. Chat's getting you seasick. Holland. Wonderful. Germany. Oh, this is amazing. Absolutely amazing. Anyway, so let's keep talking about drumming. So recording drums. So obviously, there's no right way or wrong way. You want to tune your drums logically. If you've got 3 toms, you want that do-do-doom. And if you can do it musically in tune with a song, great. However, if you're cutting an album in a day, which happens all the time, I did that with Robert John on the Wreck at Sunset Sound a couple of years ago, the whole album in one day. If you're doing that, you don't have time. I'm sorry, you just don't have time in 8 or 10 hours to tune the toms to the key of every single song. But you can do something which is musical, which is tuning the toms so they have that doom. And you all know it, your ears heard it a million times. Listen to Simon Phillips, listen to Vinnie Colaiuta, listen to Steve Jordan, listen to guys that you know are incredibly musical. Steve Jordan is a really, really, really good example of a well-tuned drummer and a well-recorded drummer. Go and listen to Keith Richards' solo records. Main Offender in particular is a masterpiece of simplicity in drumming, but tones. Don Smith, God rest his soul, an old friend of mine from many, many years ago, was the engineer on those. And listen to those recordings. So Main Offender by Keith Richards, Steve Jordan. Listen to the sound of, no, don't tune them in perfect fourths. We don't like perfect fourths. I mean, maybe you might be able to get away with it in certain songs, but anyway, so yeah. And look, here's what somebody else is Hello Spawn is saying. Hellspawn is saying. He said tune the drums to their specific resonant frequency. That's very, very true. If I go to and take my toms to Pro Drum, those of you that are close or in Los Angeles will know Pro Drum on Vine is probably one of the best drum shops in the world. So shout out to Pro Drum, go online, look them up. You can buy stuff from them. They will tune the tom for you to the resonant frequency that it best sounds. There are certain things that just sound wonderful. Ryan is saying Jordan Main Offender rocks. So I want all of you to, hopefully it's on Spotify, go check out Main Offender. Listen to those. That was recorded through a Little Neve. Don Smith did it. And there is no samples. Don Smith unfortunately died about 5 years ago. I did some work with him years ago. Yes, I do work with the Drum Doctor. Okay, so, and he knows about this. It's on Spotify. Thank you, Tyler. So, Main Offender, Steve Jordan, the cleanest drum sounds, no drum samples. It's all about the recording. It's all about, most importantly, the performance. The way Steve Jordan works is he's very simplistic, very, very simplistic in the way that he records. He basically the track plays, he will play like kick and snare and hat, the simplest beat. I have heard that he will often keep playing the groove after the song has stopped and then request that they start again. And on the second take, he might put a fill in. And then the third take, maybe he'll put like 2 fills in, and then at the end of the day, you have the simplest, best sounding drums you've ever heard. So check it out. Main Offender, Keith Richards, Steve Jordan. Use that as your way of no drum samples, nada. Listen. Yes, many years ago, Daddy Drum Listen. So you listen to that as an example of great recorded drums. It is the combination of the two things we're talking about, the drummer and the drums. Okay, let's concentrate on the drummer for a minute. What is important about the drummer? Eric, would you put on some coffee, please? What is important about the drummer beyond the obvious of the consistent hitting? What is really, really important about that is, yes, consistent kick and snare, consistent toms. One of the biggest things, one of the biggest problems I have when I'm mixing is when drummer does a really fast fill, they don't articulate it very well. So they'll be like kick, snare, to kick, kick, and it's kind of like, you know, Lee says, do your job. No, it's his penance for arriving half an hour later than he should have. But it's okay, he got some extra sleep. You know, it's his kids and stuff, you know, he's got to get up early to take the kids to school. Oh, wait there, no. Oh, I'm just teasing. Okay, so that's a big problem for me. You know what I'm talking about? Those of you who've recorded drummers in that respect, or drummers that, or you're mixing something and they lack articulation. So they're kick, snare, kick, snare, and they'll do this really fast kind of tom roll. Oh no. Don't catch me on the coffee instead of tea. What's that? That's some PG Tips. This is my 3rd cup of PG Tips. Now I'm going to have my first coffee of the day. Don't get me wrong. I'm a PG Tips drinker, but I'm going to have my 3rd coffee. My first coffee, and I've had 3 PG Tips. Anyway, yeah, love PG Tips too. Tea on the console. No, the console's behind me. I'm putting the tea on the table. PG Tips. All right, so basically, getting back to it, the drummer is the single most important part of the puzzle. Having good articulated toms. When you're working with a drummer, listen for it. They do it all the time. They do it all the time. Oh, Lauren, we all drink coffee in England as well. We just predominantly drink tea, but we'll have a cup of coffee as well. So listen for it. Make sure that they're articulating, slow them down, get them to listen to, you know, now that you've got a bit of a secret, make them listen to Steve Jordan, reference it during a session, reference the simplicity, because every drummer I know rates a handful of drummers, and the ones that consistently come up are Vinny Colaiuta, and of course Steve Jordan, and of course, you know, Kenny, there's Simon Phillips. These are drummers that everybody loves, you know, drummers that, you know, pre-editing, like Blink 182, before everything was edited, and drum samples, you know, which is fine. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that sort of Travis Barker kind of drum sound and all of that kind of stuff. That whole genre is a different world. But when we're talking about, and I don't have a problem with drum samples. I don't have a problem with drum samples. You need to do that to make the drums sound good. That is your job as a mixer. Your job of the mixer is to make it sound good. Oh, look, Matt's saying you're enjoying the course you won earlier this week. So quick reminder, last chance on the first giveaway. Put down Produce Like a Pro, and please let me know where you're from if you haven't already done that. And then Matt will choose the winner. All right, so getting back to it. So drummer performance, those guys that we're talking about, if you have to, have them available to play to people. Play them, you know, in the session. Reference things. Give people a chance to understand what you're talking about, because there's nothing better than referencing something great and like going, oh, you know, here we are, you know, here we are, and you're doing this great rock beat. What about this beat that Steve Jordan did on this Keith Richards song? What about this? Somebody just mentioned AC/DC. What about this track from Back in Black? See how simple that groove is and how good that feels. Inspire the people you work with. Give them amazing things to listen to. Chad Smith. I've worked with Chad Smith. I did pre-production with the Chili Peppers for months. Absolutely on Californication. And that guy is a machine in a good way. He plays with incredible feel. He's got groove and he's simplistic and he's everything that you want in a drummer. Yes, Chad is awesome. And don't let anybody else tell you that. Jeff Porcaro was amazing, God rest his soul. Amazing. Mickey D, Nico McBain. Those are all amazing drummers that know how to overplay in the right way. So there's a way you can sort of quote unquote overplay. Vinny can do it. You know, it's tons and tons of groove, you know. Yeah, Californication. Hey, while we're on that subject, who is your favorite drummer? Who's your favorite drummer? I see Phil Collins. Let's see. Let's just answer with the favorite drummer. Let's see if we've got a consensus going on here. Who's your favorite drummer? Roger Taylor, love him. Lars Ulrich. Chambers, Tommy Aldridge, Ringo, John Bonham, Steve Ringo, Josh Freese, Bonham, Buddy Rich. I'm just picking out things where I see a lot of, quite a few Josh Fritzes, quite a few Bonhams. Oh, Carmine Appice. He told me Vinny's great as well. More Bonham, Dave Grohl, Nico McBrain, more Bonham, Charlie Watts, Jimmy Chamberlain, great choice. Travis, Mitch Mitchell, Danny Carey, Bonham, Cozy Pal, me, thank you, but no. Phil Collins, Ian Pace, great one. Neil Peart, another great one. Darren King, Darren's great. I recorded him. Vinny Carluta, Gavin Harrison, Neil Peart, Phil Selway, Travis, Mike Pertney, sorry, I've seen him a few times. Matt Cameron's a great. Adam Levine, Buddy Rich, saw him a few times. Carl Palmer, the guy from the Knack was great. Steve Gadd, Copeland, good choice. Another Dave Grohl. Clem Burke, he's great. I've recorded him, he's great. Phil Selway, Vinnie Paul, Steve Jordan again. More Chads. Another Mike Pointney. Bill Bruford, great choice. Gene Krupa. Levon Helm, wonderful choice. Groove drummer, great feel. Sung as well as playing. More Travis. Bill Ward, never to be underestimated. Bruford. More Charlie Watts. Oh, yep. Mick Fleetwood, great. Okay, so there's a good splattering. You know what's nice about your choices? You know, there's a few technical drummers, like Mike Portnoy. Somebody wrote Paris Hilton, that's hilarious. Mick Fleetwood. But you know what's nice, and I love this about you, and Neil Peart's definitely on the more technical. Bunny Carlos, Mick Fleetwood, John Bonham, great selection. Lots and lots of Ringos early on there. More Ringos, more Neil Peart's. Nick Mason, great choice. Paris Hilton's hilarious. You know, Taylor Hawkins is great. Animal, yes. Terry Bozzio in capital letters. Very good. But you know what's great? McCartney was a great drummer. He did some great stuff. You know what's really, really good about your selections? I'm reading the comments from over here, by the way. What's great about your selections is 90% of them, at least, are song drummers. And they're very musical song drummers, you know? One that I think gets overlooked. Who do you think gets most overlooked? I haven't actually seen him yet, so if somebody has mentioned it, very, very overlooked. And if you go back and listen to some of his solos, he was kind of outspoken, which didn't make him very likable. But I think is Phil Rudd, Mitch Mitchell, from this period of the late 60s, Beach Boys, well, that would have been Hal Blaine. See, Hal Blaine didn't come up yet. And Hal Blaine is probably on more hits than most of these other guys put together. And Hal, Bernard Purdie, he was on a bunch. Yes, Ginger Baker, Ginger Baker, Ginger Baker, Ginger Baker. You knew where I was going. Exactly. Ginger Baker, he's probably arguably, depending on what day of the week it is, possibly the best drummer that ever lived. Definitely the first really, like, groove plus feel plus technique. He was the birth of that style of drumming. If you listen to what he was doing in like 67 and 68, exactly, it's what I was saying. He was very outspoken. He was very outspoken. John Densmore's a great drummer. Very outspoken. Happy birthday, Michael. Very outspoken, but close your eyes and listen to that guy play. Absolutely phenomenal drummer. So if we can do anything from this little I mean, his groove was amazing. And so there was tons of jazz drummers mentioned. Lots and lots and lots. Yeah, tons of them. There was loads came up. So all the obvious ones. Gene Krupa came up at least 4 times. Elvin Jones has just come up again. Yeah, there's loads of great jazz drummers as well. But I think Ginger, for me, despite Tony Williams, great. Despite Questlove is great. Despite being a little bit of a you-know-what, but too opinionated and very dismissive of guys like Bonham, Tony Thompson's great. The thing about Ginger that was really wonderful is he tied the whole thing together, didn't he? He was the beginning, as far as I'm concerned, humbly speaking, was the beginning of jazz, R&B, pop, and rock. And blues. He brought it all together. Keith Moon, Roger Taylor, he came up one of the first ones. So great selection, though. I've got to be honest, you are an amazing audience. There was barely any silliness. There was nobody's like, oh, okay, the winner is Nikolai Kirsting from Germany. You've won a drum recording bundle. Please send an email to support@producelikeapro.com. Thank you, Nikolai. Are you still on? Congratulations, Nikolai. Are you still there? Anyway, so yeah, Ginger Baker. I think, unfortunately, I was on YouTube the other day watching some of his performances and a couple of interviews came up. And I was like, oh, Ginger, please don't say that. But, God, he's such a good player. Such an amazing player. I don't know who won the Beat Kit Pro off the top of my head. Matt, could you tell us? I'm not sure. But they always go up online and we send out emails and stuff. And it's always, once they send us a photograph, we put a Facebook post up. And also in the community page on YouTube, you can get that stuff. Somebody says, can I make great beats with using VST plugins? Of course you can. Absolutely. All right, so what have we established? We've established get your drums tuned well. Make sure your source is really good. Make sure the drums are good drums. They don't necessarily have to be expensive, but they have to be good enough. The question is, do you use clear coat or coated? I always use, for recording, when I can, a single ply coated. I don't like double or triple ply heads. Double in particular, or triple's crazy, but I don't personally like them. I find they don't give me the tone of the drums. They tend to only really work with guys that are smacking the schnizzle out of it. So, basically, I personally like single ply coated. Clear can sound good. I don't like the oil slick ones or whatever they're called. I tend to go with very simple. I think Remo and the G2 Evans are really easy to record and give you great results. Now, here's the quagmire that you're in when it comes to recording drummers. If you get a drummer, we'll get to the miking techniques in a minute, don't worry. If you're talking to a drummer and they come in with their live drum kit, the problem is they probably do have really super thick heads on because they're playing live and they're playing super aggressively live, maybe in small clubs where there's not a good PA and they can't hear themselves. So they are like playing super aggressively. So they put on these multiple ply, these they do all of this kind of stuff. And the reality is, unfortunately, and I understand, the reality is that what works in a live situation isn't always best for the studio. So, of course I like doing live recording, but what works live in a studio is quite different from what can work live, so if you're working with a drummer and you don't have a drum kit, first of all, if you have a studio, a home studio, buy a drum kit. Seriously, buy a drum kit. It doesn't matter if it's mismatched. It doesn't matter if it's a Tama with a Yamaha, with a Gretsch, with a whatever. Buy a drum kit. Get the best thing you can possibly do. I would personally suggest a Ludwig Supraphonic or something like that. Yeah, the G2 is the 2-player, you're right. But the point is don't get those super thick coated ones. Don't go for the oil slicky one. Get something really, really simple, something that feels really, really good and really snappy. I personally like new heads in most of the situations, but I will highly, highly suggest that it depends on the song. The old dead heads are good when you want boom, boom, boom. Gretsch are amazing kits. Gretsch are absolutely fantastic kits. I'm looking up some stuff here so we can give it. So basically, just make sure that they come in with fresh heads if you want something snappy. But honestly, I would highly suggest that you I'm looking up some stuff here so we can talk about it. As far as I know, the G2 is a single ply coated. Oh no, it is 2-ply, but it's got the 7mm film. Okay, so what they do, the ones I pathologically dislike are the ones that are like those super coated, not coated ones, the clear ones, which are like 2 or 3 plies. They're super thick, and the oil ones drive me nuts. I've never had good results for that. Basically, use the thinnest possible head that you can. I personally think will give you more snap and more personality. It will mean if you're doing an album that you might have to change the heads frequently, but I get more tone out of a head like that. I get more sound, I get more snap, I get more brightness. Yeah. The G2 has oil. Well, not according to Evans, but I could be wrong. They say it's a 14-inch coated tom with 2-ply 7mm fill for open and expressive tone. We use it on the snare quite a lot, and we get great results. I also use, quite often, I will use use Moon Gel, or another technique on a snare, if we want to talk about snare for a second, is to take a penny and put it on there, and then put a little bit of tape over it. As far as the Remo stuff is concerned, and God rest his soul, unfortunately he died just a couple of years ago. I remember that happened. You know, a lot of guys like Vinny will come in with, it's not a Sound X that he's using, but he's using a coated on the snare. And sometimes he comes in, I've had him with the dot, and sometimes it's just an Emperor coated. Either way, it really depends on the tuning, and quite often it's really about keeping fresh heads going. That, I think, is one of the biggest things. It depends on what you're going for. If you want to go for a super tubby, super tubby tom sound, then you're going to probably prefer the older toms, older tom heads than a newer kind of, main offender Keith Richards, Steve Jordan. So I think I would like to know the definition from the drummers out there of the difference why we as engineers prefer like something like a G2, which is a 2-ply, but is a lot lighter and a lot snappier than some of the other 2- and 3-ply oil ones, which tend to like really dead sounding. It's probably the thickness of the ply, I would imagine, from the drummers. But I'll tell you, as an engineer, if you're going for something, the drum dial. Whoa. We'll get into that. Okay, so fresh heads. Personally, if you've got a drum room, get a drum kit. Get it sounding good. You're going to save yourself. It just arrived. There's my Hawaiian mug. There you go. Lee says 2-ply does work because you can tune them better together. Great information. Okay, please like and share the video. I'm getting reminded. And we're going to do another giveaway in about 10 or 15 minutes. So stay away for another drum bundle giveaway. So please like and share. I think 2-ply on the kick is a different world altogether. I think sometimes, hey Terry, I think sometimes when you're into like the 3-ply kind of stuff, you're talking about serious issues there. Anyway, so let's get back to where we are. The reason why the drummer is not only important from, the point of view of articulating the toms and stuff, but is balance. One of the biggest issues you're going to have when mixing drums is the balance between the kick, the snare, and the cymbals. One of the biggest problems I have all the time when we're mixing is kick, snare, to kick, snare, tom. Explosive cymbal, like blowing out every single mic. So for the next 4 snare hits, my room mics are completely useless. So that's why the drummer is a big, huge part of what we do. And I've talked to drummers, I've played back performances, I've showed them that they're overplaying their cymbals, and they bring back as far as they can. Yes, definitely watch the Simon Phillips interview. The next thing I think to do then is, like I've done this all the time, is to get some paper towel, some kitchen towel, and put it underneath the cymbal, and put a little bit of tape on it, and it will take off some of that edge. I've done that a lot of times. It also reduces the sustain ever so slightly. I'm not talking about like a huge piece of paper towel. I'm talking about a chunk like this, folded up, underneath the cymbal with a bit of tape. It's a secret weapon. I do it all the time. I don't have to do it with super balanced drummers, but when I've got super bright cymbals that are just far too aggressive and a drummer that's playing them too hard, I do it all the time. It's a great tip for taking it off. But ultimately, you need to have your drummer come in and listen, because the mix he's probably got is kick and snare. That's all he is listening to. He's got like a band around him. He's got a bass player. He's got a vocalist. Terry's asking about the hi-hat and the room mic. Same thing. I use new beats and I use thinner hi-hats. And often I'll do the same thing. I'll put a bit of paper towel and tape underneath the bottom hat, or sometimes inside of the other one so it's not touching anything. I'll do anything, low pass paper towels, yeah. Just anything just to take a little bit of the volume, and more importantly, a little bit of the edge, a little bit of the high frequency that's just killing everything else. You know, yeah, the paper towel training. And it's not a new technique, it's around forever. Cotton balls is another one that people are talking about. These are all things that are done to control a drummer. If you watch my latest video on the Lewitt drum miking with one mic, the one mic over the shoulder, over the floor tom, that worked really, really well because I had Matt listen to the mix. We did one and then he listened and he's like, oh, I've got to come back on the hi-hat. I've got to come back on the cymbals. And if you watch his performance in the video, go watch the video after this. It's like kick, snare, a tom, 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 cymbal. It's not tom, 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 cymbal. I mean, he knows how to play balanced, but you need to educate your drummer. So you do a drum performance, and then you bring him in. It's an unreleased track for Mute Math, and you know they're broken up, so we'll see if we can get to put it out. Anyway, so it's a song I wrote with the singer. So we get the drummer in the room and get him to hear what you're hearing. Get him to hear what you're hearing. There's a very, very famous best band ever. Oh, we'll get into that later. So please like and share. We have 196 likes and we have 318 people watching. So let's get that up. Let's try to get that to 300 likes with 300 people watching. Please stay online because we're going to do another drum mixing and drum recording bundle giveaway. The drum bundle is Matt Starr's own personal one, which he did at Tommy Lee's studio. So it's in a drummer's studio. There's also talking about how to do the Glyn Johns technique. It's a really amazing course. If you don't win it, I suggest you buy it. It's amazing. He also has a bonus video, and we also have we also have the Matt Weiss recording one for those of you that are pro audiophiles. Fans, you can watch that. Hey David Allen, hey everybody. So what are we learning? We're learning that the drums should be well tuned. If you're going for snappy modern, new heads. Try to avoid super thick 3-ply oil filled heads. We've determined through a conversation here that the G2 is a 2-ply, and that is fine because it still sounds snappy. We found out that you just need to go with something that fits the song. Secondly, I personally think owning your own drum kit, even if it's a hodgepodge, some of the best drum recordings in the world are made up of a DW kick, which are always fantastic, with a Gretsch floor tom, a Rogers rack, and a Ludwig snare, and a Zildjian. I've got Zildjian hi-hats. I've got a Ride, a Peisty 2002 Ride, and we have all kinds of mix-max cymbals. We don't go for one manufacturer, even though most of my drums are Ludwig. The point is we go with what sounds good. So if you want to piece together a Craigslist drum kit in your little garage or your little home studio, I highly recommend it. And drum recording is not that difficult if you get the two things first, which is a good sounding drum kit, well tuned, with a drummer that knows how to play balanced. It's really as simple as that. I really see somebody saying they did a Glyn Johns and there's too much floor tom, when again, it's the performance. There's a drummer, a very famous drummer called Dave Mattox. For those of you know, he was one of the biggest drummers in the 70s. And there's a very famous story. I think you could probably find it online. I believe it was like Drum Recording or Drum Magazine, whatever. One of the drum magazines. And he said that he was recording with Glyn Johns. And he came in to listen to the recording. They're all in a room recording live. And he said to Glyn, he said, "Glyn, my cymbals are too loud." Remember, this is the three mic drum technique. And Glyn Johns says to Dave Mattox, "Yeah, you're right. Your cymbals are too loud. Don't hit them as hard." So when the floor tom was too loud using the Glyn Johns technique, if you're using balanced mics, so using mics that work together, then it's probably the drummer smacking a schnizzle out of the floor tom. And if it really bothers you, then move it away from the floor tom. I highly recommend go to the Lewitt video from yesterday and download the session. Answer me. Have you all, Dave Mattox is amazing. Have you all downloaded yesterday's session? Everybody watching, give me a yes. Have you downloaded it from yesterday's, the Lewitt 1 Mic 1? Have you downloaded it? Go download it. Go download it. Not downloaded? Go, Frank, go download it. L. Harrison, go download it. Go download it. Not yet. We'll do it. It's perfect for this conversation. Please download it. Go do it because you can listen to it. It's one mic and it is only over the floor tom like this, pointed towards the kit. When I mixed it, I put a bit of MV2, the Waves MV2. Put an MV2 on it and I boosted 60 hertz. And that is it. So basically you can reproduce, yes, it's the 540 Sub-Zero. So, no, we had Bruford, we had Alan White, we didn't have Joey, I didn't see Joey Kramer, we had Ringo lots of times, Carl, but we didn't have Jay. So we had about half of those. Yeah, Bruford was mentioned quite, but Alan White wasn't mentioned, but maybe he was. Neil Smith, Nigel Olsson, Ringo and Carl Palmer were mentioned, yeah. It's I'm a big prog head, as those of you know. I mean, Queen was my entry level, and what's great about Bohemian Rhapsody is you could go prog and you could go rock, and I went both ways. I suddenly got into prog bands and I got into rock bands. It was amazing. Anyway, that's what was so great about that period of... MV2 is a Waves plugin. I think it's the best plugin on the market, and I love everything. I think it's the best plugin on the market. Quick question, I want to remind everybody, go to the Lewitt video, which I believe Matt will now put up, and watch it and download the files. You can mix my song. I did tune a bit of my vocals because I hit some bad notes. I only did a couple of vocal takes. So, oh, I love Slate stuff. I love everybody. The MV2 is an amazing plugin. Yeah. And can you put up a link to the MV2, Matt? Can you do two things? Can you put up a link to the MV2 because it's a wonderful plugin? Can you put that up? And can you also put up a link to the Lewitt video, which is all recorded with one mic, and so everybody can watch that and download the files. I really want you to do that because it's kind of a compressor. It reduces the dynamics, so it does this. It brings up the low level signal and it squashes the top. It is just fantastic on a one mic. And I want you to all download it because I want you to listen to that mic and realize that it's one mic on the drum kit. And when you watch and listen to me playing that song, it was all done. I'd love to do a Slate giveaway, I'm sure we will. It's all done with one microphone because the drummer is balanced. Tips on using MV2. It's the dumbest, easiest plugin to use. Just do it until you Peisty. You pronounce it is with a J in it. I was always told in England, and which you are, aren't you? That was Peisty. Won't URLs allow URLs to link? Oh, inside of the chat. So all right, so go underneath. Matt, will you put it underneath the video for us, please? We have 314 people watching. Thank you ever so much. 241 likes. Would you please like and share? I'm right about Peisty. I don't know. Which link? Hello. 2 links. Can you put a link to the video, the Lewitt video, so that people can watch it? And also, would you put a link to the Waves MV2, please? Please put a link to the Waves MV2. Because the MV2, and all I did was put some 60 hertz on that mono mic and use the MV2, and you have a drum sound with just one microphone. And the reason why the drum microphone works, is because the drummer played evenly. It's a sale, so please put the sale link underneath, Matt. So yeah, you know, Peisty, yes, what I said, yeah. So download the files, listen to the drums with the one mic over the guy's shoulder. What age did I get into producing? I worked with 2 cassette players and a 4-track. I've always been producing. All the bands I was in, I did it. Okay, did I have any drum samples? No, go listen to it. It's one microphone. And the secret is, and it's a tiny little room. My live room is like a bedroom size. It is a bedroom size. And there's nothing fantastically exciting about it. It was one microphone, a 540 Sub-Zero through my 1173 into an Audient ID4. Audient ID4. One mic. One microphone. Would you mind grabbing that for me? One microphone, it's about $600 going. It's basically, that's it. That's it. It really is. There it is. That's it. So this one microphone, and I did it with the Delphos as well. So you can do it with the Delphos. I could probably do it with the 57. But yes. So this one mic was all we had on the drums. And it's because the drummer was even. I actually like drum fills not ending with a crash. That's a nice mention there of Ginger Baker. All right, so where are we? So what do we ascertained? Great drum sounds come from great drums. Doesn't mean you have to spend $1 million. A lot of the best drum kits I've seen. Do you remember the Dave Way? We did 2 Dave Way videos. Do you remember those? There's the MV2. It's $29. I think it's the best, finest. I think everybody makes great plugins. I love them all. But I think that MV2 is the best single plugin for me. On bass guitar, it is a godsend. At the end of my chain, I use it on bass guitar. I'm going to do a video with it. Yeah, the ID4 is amazing. It's just incredible that $29 plugin can get you your bass guitar sound. Sit there, use your lows, boost it, cut it, do whatever you like, shape the sound, use the DI for the low end, stick the MV2 at the end of your chain on your bass bust, and you'll balance out the high notes that aren't articulated, that are super quiet. You'll take the super low booming notes and you'll squash them together. The MV2 is my secret favorite one. I think it's compatible with everything. I think the studio, it's Waves, so they make it for everything. Before Lou hit the market, I was stuck in a Neumann only world. I was stuck in a Neumann and AKG world, and the reason why I liked Lewitt is because of AKG. Because it's one of the designers, one of the guys from AKG started the company. Just is. Anyway, moving on. So what do we are? We're back into the secrets. So the drums, Dave Way, reason why I mentioned him, his drum kit is a hodgepodge of different drums. We were in Scott studio, Scott Frankfurt studio, hodgepodge of various drums. We were in JJ Blair's, one of the finest recording engineers in the world. Love you, JJ, hope you're watching. Hodgepodge of drums. I mean, we're talking, it doesn't matter. You don't have to have I've got a 1935 Radio King drum kit with a WFL Ludwig 1947. It was cost me $22,000, and it's got this hoop that's made out of an alloy of Germanic gold mixed in with a Spanish silver, made by virgins in Cuba in all that's crap. You know, the guys we're talking about, thank you for, I hope I am funny at times. The guys we're talking about are mixing a Tamar with a Rogers and a DW and a whatever. They're tip mocking you. You know, that's the point. And what snare do I use? I use a Ludwig Superphonic that I bought off eBay for $75 about 20 years ago. It is the snare drum on How to Save a Life. Do you remember that song? It's the snare drum on that. You can go and listen to it. Go check that out. Go to Spotify, type in How to Save a Life, listen to the drum sound. I recorded that with a Rogers 22-inch kick, a Ludwig Supraphonic snare, no toms, my Peisty 2002 ride, and some new beat hi-hats, and that is all that's on it. I think we had one cracked Sabian crash. And why do we only have that? See, this is why I love having these conversations, because that's the truth. There was a time when How to Save a Life was the most downloaded song of all time. The most downloaded song of all time was a Ludwig pitted, crappy looking Supraphonic I bought for $75 with a Rogers kick drum that was 22 inches and was only this deep, with a pair of new beats, a Peisty 2002, and a crash cymbal that was cracked and was a Sabian crack cymbal. And that was, how many room mics did I use? I had 2 behind the drum kit. I had I had 2 in front of the drum kit, mic'd on the wall. So I had a combination of 2 sets of stereo. I had a 57 top and bottom on the snare. I had a D112, not a cool D12, but a D112 inside the kick. Outside the kick, I had a Audix D6, I think it's called. What's the Audix mic? Oh no, it wasn't the Audix. Sorry, it was the Sennheiser kick mic, the E602, I believe. Is that what it's called? That was outside the kick. It wasn't the Audix. Sorry, my fault. It was the Sennheiser. The Audix is great though, but it wasn't that. And then overheads, I had a pair of 414s as overheads, measured off in phase with the snare at 46.5 inches. The stereo room mics behind were 57s against the wall. 57s on the wall. The ones behind the kit were the cheap Audix, like $400, sort of black looking, like mini 87s, you know what I mean? So they were like $400 mics behind, 57 top and bottom snare, like I said, D112 inside, Sennheiser on the outside, kick drum mic, 57s on the walls. Hi-hat was a 57 and a 441 strapped together. Audio Technica 4041 or whatever it's called. Audio Technica strapped together with a 57 tied together, and it was going through a TAC Scorpion console, which I believe you can get from anywhere $750 to $1,500. No, the 57s were hard left and hard right. And then behind was a pair of Audix, like $400 ones. Yeah, we had a conversation, and we can have another Q&A about recording consoles and mic pre's and stuff like that. All right, there's 324 of you on. Thank you ever so much. Will you please like and share? Do I like Neumann U87s? Yes. See, what happened is this was my old studio, and we had got it, Matt. We had 609. Thank you. We had a rental business for drums. So the reason why we had this hodgepodge drum kit was all of our nice drum kits had gone out for this festival that was happening. So all I have is this beaten up, crappy sounding Rogers kick, and my pitted, just recently purchased Supraphonic for $75. It was all rusty and pitted, and I'd taken it to Pro Drum on Vine, and Pro Drum had put brand new Ludwig hoops on it and a new head. So it had a new head, or newish, like 3 weeks old, new for me, with new hoops, and they had wire-wooled, taken off all of the rust on it, and that was the drum sound. So do me a favor, go and listen to How to Save a Life and listen to the drum sound. And we recorded those drums. The drummer arrived at 11 and he left about 1:30 or a little bit earlier than that. He flew in, played the drums, left on a flight that afternoon. We drove down with the files to Scream Studios and sat with Mark Ender, and he mixed the song and dropped it in, and it went to mastering that same evening. That was how we did it. That was How to Save a Life. That was the drum sound. And if you listen to it, there's no reverb on it. All of the ambience in it is, I talked about it with Mark Ender. All of the ambience in of that drum sound was from the room mics. So go and listen to it. Go and listen to that simple drum recording. Go do it. And that's a hodgepodge drum kit, and it was about an even performance from a drummer, and the fact that there was no tom fills in there that didn't work. It's just a good groove and a great performance. And that was it. All right, so we've gone back to proving, so what I think yes, good drum trimming, but it was simple drum trimming. It's just a kick and a snare. Yes, I've used the 103s and the KM 184s. So, thank you. I'm glad you like How to Save a Life. Yeah, so go and listen to the drums on that. Yeah, I mean, I use space pair, or sometimes I use XY over it. Okay, so those are my main tips. Is like, I believe as an engineer, producer guy or girl, hi-hat mic or mono room mic. If I had a choice, depends on the track. If the track's not super dense and you don't need it to be articulated, then why have a hi-hat mic? But if it's dense and it's got piano and bass and drums and guitars and keys and strings and background vocals, then I want a hi-hat mic. If it's acoustic guitar, stand-up bass, a jazzier or a folky kind of artist, then I could probably just get away with the overheads. But as soon as it starts to become dense, then I do want a hi-hat mic. But I understand what you're asking, Anne. In England, when I was working like in London in studios, like recording, producing tracks, often they wouldn't put a hi-hat mic up, and you'd have to ask for one to be put up. And so it's kind of a standard. It's moved away from that, but that's what I got used to, was like minimal amounts of mics. Gunnar, I didn't see your question. Somebody saying, great question. How do you get the placement of the kick and the snare right with a spaced pair? With a spaced pair of overheads, it's quite easy. I mean, I measure off in phase with the snare. You're never going to get the kick and the snare to both be in the center, because as soon as you have room mics, you're always going to see them at slightly different angles. Now, I've tried experiments where I put the drum kit at an angle and then take an equilateral triangle to the kick and the snare. You can do that, but then it throws off your tom panning and you don't get the width. So it's always going to be a slight compromise. What I do both. I do XY and I do space pair. So when I do space pair, I'll do this, and then I'll measure them both off so they're the same distance from the snare. So the snare will always be exactly centered in your overheads. The way that you get away with that is that you get it to be completely, yes, I do sidechain my snare out of the overheads a lot. I actually like the way it sounds, to not take it out, but to dip it slightly, about 3 dB out of the overheads. I think it gives me a pa, pa. I like the way it makes the overheads mic sound. Anyway, so you've got that safe, and I average about 46.5 inches, but what will happen is your snare will immediately be in the center if you do that. Your kick might be slightly off center. However, with my overheads, I'm usually gently high passing at about 150. So a lot of the low end that's in the kick isn't in there anymore. So I end up, yeah, I use an SM7B in my hi-hats at the moment in here. All the time. RE320. Okay, we're going to do another giveaway. Matt has reminded me. So this time, can you put in recording drums as many times as you can? Comment recording drums, recording drums, recording drums. So if you put in recording drums, he will choose you for another giveaway. We're going to give away the drum recording bundle. So recording drums, just give us recording drums. He's going to pick somebody at random. You guys and girls rock. So give us recording drums, and Matt will choose somebody at random. You're going to get the Matt Starr drum recording course, and you're also going to get the Matt Weiss drum recording course. So please just put in recording drums, recording drums. And if you haven't already, please like and share. I see we've had our usual 2 dislikes from the usual suspects. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it. There's always people who dislike free information and free gifts. So please put in recording drums. Thank you very much. You guys and girls rock. And please, please like and share. Recording drums. Look at that. This is wonderful. Somebody put in Matt Star. We'll count that. Nice, Fabio. Recording drums. Oh, Matt, you got to randomly pick through this. Just scroll down. Recording rum. We'll let that go. Wood recording drums. Oh no, third dislike because I said, it's funny. I said to somebody, please like and share. The reason why we ask for the like and share is because it hits the YouTube algorithm and they let people know that we're online. But it's fine. I don't mind people disliking the videos. There's always going to be those, I didn't agree with him on his symbol choice, so I'm going to hit dislike. It doesn't matter. It's absolutely fine. Absolutely. Can you read this fast? Yeah, I read that fast. Hey, 300 likes. So please like and share. Recording drums. So now you've all got to stay because you're going to pick somebody at random. And what happened, so far we've been lucky. Everybody's stayed. Somebody said a bad drummer disliked. So please like and share. Recording drums, recording drums. Yudish, you never know. I don't know who he's going to pick because he does it at random. He'll just go scroll and then stop. How do I choose room mics and where to place them? Okay, let's talk about miking. Okay, let's talk about miking. So we've skimmed through it, but let's go by drum by drum. Okay, so here's the big debate. Everybody has a favorite mic if it's not a 57. When it comes to the snare drum, most of the time, people use a 57 top and a 57 bottom. Most of the time, that's what they do. If I go into a studio now at random, yesterday I was at East West at Studio 3, the Pet Sounds room. You may have seen my Instagram. If you haven't already, please check out the Instagram. We try to tie all this stuff together, Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. Get us, it's all part of community. We're trying to get everybody integrated, obviously. But if you go to that, you'll notice I was there with Andrew Wells. Andrew Wells is a guy I've been a fan of since he was 16 years old. He came to me at 16 years old, and he wanted me to mix his band's track. I loved the track, I loved the guitar playing, and I sent it to a couple of labels, and they all loved it. Nobody wanted to sign it quite yet, but they all loved it, and they loved what he was doing. And he paid me to mix the song, and he came and sat in here and asked me a couple of smart questions. Flash forward a few months later, my friend at Capitol Records calls me and says, I'm looking for a guitar player to go out on a tour, and they have to be like 17, 18 years old. They can't be too old. They have to fit. Our artist is only 17 or 18. And so I called up and I said, this is the guy. He's a great player. He's very professional. I can vouch for him. There's very few teenagers I would vouch for. I vouched for him. He got the gig. He went on the tour. He did a great job. Really fantastic. He gets back from the tour. Then I get a phone call from Andrew Watts. We all know Andrew Watts. Everybody know Andrew Watts, the producer, the songwriter, huge at the moment, very successful. He says to me, I have a big gig, because he was playing with Glenn. Why am I blanking on Glenn's name? Glenn from Deep Purple. He was playing with Glenn from Deep Purple and Jason Bonham. And he had a band. And he goes, we are going into the studio, and he was playing with Cody Simpson and Glenn Hughes. Thank you. Yeah, I can't believe I forgot that. So he was playing with Glenn Hughes and Jason Bonham, and they were going into the studio to make an album with another friend of mine, Dave Cobb. And at that point, I froze. Why did I freeze? Am I frozen to everybody there? Have I frozen to all of you? Yeah, I don't know why it's frozen. Oh, you can hear me still. All right, well, in that case, I'm just going to keep waffling on to while we try to figure out why YouTube has frozen us. All right, well, the audio's good. Okay, so maybe it'll come back to life in a second. I'm sorry about that. I wish you could stop these and relaunch them at the same thing. Yeah, what a great freeze with my hands like that. Anyway, all right, so I'm going to keep talking. Looks like I'm rapping, I am. Okay, so Glenn Hughes, Jason Bonham, and California Breed, exactly, and Andrew. So, but he was playing with Cody Simpson. And if you know Cody, you know he's a great talent. He's a very young as well. And they wanted another young guitar player. So what did I do? I recommended Andrew Wells again. So Andrew went out and played with Cody. And suddenly there's this really nice, incredibly talented kid who's very professional. I can't reboot and it will just lose it and I have to start a whole new link. We just got to hope it does it. If we close out of this now, you have to start a brand new link. And, you know, all of that kind of good stuff. Anyway, so it's all okay, as long as you guys can hear me. So Andrew basically proved to me that he was somebody I could recommend in all situations. And he's in a room with all of these incredible players. You know, stream on Twitch and then post on YouTube. I don't use Twitch. Anyway, so how's the audio now, Matt? I mean, it's crackling because I was moving it to see if it can make. Yeah, sorry, I can't press F5 because I'm on my phone. We're streaming from my phone. Okay, so basically what happened is he got himself in that situation. So then what happened basically is he started to become successful. He started to work in all these different studios and all these different environments. And, he started work. He picked up a good manager. And now he just produced Meghan Trainor, 5 Seconds of Summer, and he's doing a new Jason Mraz record. They're mixing it now with Tony Maserati. He's mixed stuff with Spike Stent. This video is coming out next week. And so I went to go and visit him and do a quick film with him. And he was in Studio 3 at East West where they recorded Pet Sounds. It's absolutely wonderful situation. So, okay, yeah, great picture still. Yeah, I'm a ventriloquist. So basically, what have we learned? We've learned that you don't need the best drums. You just need drums that you can tune well, and you don't have to have an even kit. Sure, if you've got a budget and you want to buy a full-blown modern Gretsch kit, they are incredible. If you want to buy a brand new Ludwig Supraphonic or brand new Ludwig Black Beauty, that's absolutely fantastic, but you don't necessarily need those things. You can do it with pretty much anything you like. You want nice new skins, as we're saying here, nice new drum heads if you want snappiness. If you're going for something, gasp for air at this point. Yeah, I mean, Mapex, it doesn't matter. You can get great results. I personally think that you're better off owning your own, even if it's a hodgepodge drum kit, than you are relying on a drummer to show up with a really bad kit, and then you spend half the day trying to make it sound good. No, the phone's not that hot. It's just the picture's frozen, and if we restart it, we'll have to go back to a whole new chat and do this all over again. So I'm just going to keep going. 2 round overheads. It's all about performance. We have to get it. We will do an interview with Dave. We talked about that earlier for those of you that are on it now. It's important to get your drummer to come into your tracking room, into your control room, and listen to what you're hearing. If he's playing it too hard, then you have to get him to play softer. So just get him to play softer, but he needs to hear it, or she needs to hear it. Then get kitchen paper towel, apply a little bit under the cymbals, and it will take a little bit of that harsh shimmer off it. It will be really, really good at it. Reasoning for 46.5 inches is just what I've come to do, what I've come to you to. Patrick, embrace the bleed. Basically, if your cymbals are too hot, get your strummer to play softer. Also, all of the professionals I work with have their cymbals quite high off of their toms. They don't have the hi-hat right next to the snare. That's basically, hey, Dustin's texting us. Can you just let him know he can come in anytime he likes? He's texting me, so yeah, anytime he wants. Looks like the winner is Mike Withrow. You've won a drum recording bundle. Yay! Yeah, Lee's saying 46.5 just kind of works. It's become an average for me. I've done it closer and I've done it further away. But I think ultimately, I like to lay back the snare to the overheads. So with that, life would be crap without recording drums. Yes, they would. So I get used to a certain kind of thing that works. Yeah, he's asking about whether we're filming a video tonight. Just tell him, yes, we will film a video tonight, but it'll be after whatever time you finish. Even if it's super late, it doesn't matter. I wanted to make sure he understands it doesn't affect his session. It said just tell him it will not affect how late we go. You know what I mean? Yep. I don't want that to be an excuse. All right, so that's us talking to artists there. You hear what I'm doing? Anyway, bass phase problems. We're talking drums. But basically, if you have to nudge it back, you have to match the DI back to the amp, then do it. Rim shot or not, that really comes down to the genre. If you're playing rock and you want a really, really aggressive snare, then you're going to play the rim shot. So, where is everybody here to learn how about drums? Let's keep this all about the drums. Give me a yes. One mic on the bass. Let's talk about drums. Yes, I've done it. Just move it around so it sounds good. If it's in the middle, it's going to be brighter. If it's the edge of the crown, it's going to be duller. Yes, we're all here to talk about drums? Yes, 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 yes. Well, congratulations. And thank you, everybody, for watching. Please like and share. It's so sad that the video froze. God bless YouTube. I'm so sorry. I wish I could reload the page without it going, but I'm on my cell phone, so I really apologize. So, quick tip. Go, and this is really important because a lot of what we're talking about with like good, well-tuned drums and talking about well-balanced performances, with all of that, remember we're talking about that. Go and check out the Lewitt video that I just did. Go and check it out because you can download all of the tracks. Quick question. Those of you that are watching, all 300 of you, have you downloaded the tracks yet? If you haven't downloaded the tracks, go. Do overheads have to be a match pair? Not necessarily, but it is preferable. Preferable, but not necessary. I prefer it. You know, you just have to do what you have to do. Who won the second giveaway? Matt, who was it? It was Whitlock or something. It's better this way with me just doing it. So have you downloaded the tracks yet? Okay, it should be underneath the video. Drum recording with one mic. Yes, there's the video. Go and check out the video. Oh, Bruford's amazing. Snare from ringing, use moon gel or use a penny with a piece of tape on it or use some tape. You're not working, yeah. Okay, so back to mics. So the reason why we were talking, when the video froze, we got kind of rudely interrupted by the freezing video. So basically, you got a 57 top and bottom. The reason, why do we like that? Why do I always see that in every studio? It's because what we're used to using. You know, yeah, you can download it afterwards. They're going to kick you off the live chat. It's what we're used to hearing. There's been so many drum tracks that have done like that. That's what we're used to hearing. Now, one of the first things, somebody was just suggesting it there, one of the first things a lot of people do is they flip out the 57 on the bottom and put a condenser on there. The reason why they'll put a condenser on there is they might want a little bit of brightness, you know, from the bottom snares, which I would encourage. Another thing, and the reason why a lot of people don't do it, but another thing you can do is use a pencil condenser on the snare top. Marvelous. Thank you, Mick. I'm glad that you like it when I say marvelous. Drum Tax, Jeff is suggesting. He's a great Academy member. He's very smart. Dead ringer can work. I mean, I think in your arsenal, you should have a handful of these things. I think with a snare drum, you should have some moon gel. You should have some tape. You should have the penny trick. You should have some cotton wool. You should have a wallet. A wallet on a snare is another one. It's the leather. You tape the edge to the snare. When the drummer plays, the wallet, when he hits it, jumps up and then lands down. And you get that boof, boof. You get that controlled sustain. Wallet on the snare. Tape the back edge of the wallet to the rim of the snare. So every time the snare is hit, the wallet actually bounces up and then comes back down again. That's the 70s drum trick. Many drummers doing that. I've seen Vinny do that. I've seen Victor and Drizzo do that. I've seen so many do it. I basically, yeah, I'll give you, there's tons of different tips like that. Ultimately, the reason why we don't use as condensers as often as you think we should, gaffer tape works, have everything available, try different things. The reason why, going back to it, we don't use condensers a lot of the time, even though they sound really natural in mono drum recording, the reason why we don't use them is because they have a tendency, as somebody was earlier speaking about, to get too much bleed. I would suggest looking. I know Neumann and Sennheiser and a few other companies have made handheld vocal condensers that have hypercardioid patterns. You could look up one of those. That way, you know, you could get the brightness of a condenser on a snare. You could do that and still get the work so it doesn't pick up tons and tons of hi-hat. For those Academy members, you'll know that we did a video a couple of weeks ago with Cameron Webb where he showed a lot of different techniques for blocking out hi-hat bleed. You'll also notice, if you've ever watched the Bon Jovi recording of Slippery When Wet video, you'll notice that would put like cardboard around the 57 to block the hi-hat. There's all kinds of different ones. Yeah, the Telefunken M80, that's what it is. Thank you. Fun can do that. They take a vocal hypercardioid condenser and try that. You can do foam, people are suggesting. Yeah. Yeah, the camera's frozen. So 414 sets of hyper, I've tried it. It's still a little bit too much of like that a problem, you know. So we're getting back to it. Another thing people do, which is kind of interesting, is they'll take a 57 and they'll tape a small diaphragm condenser to it and then put a little bit of the bleed in it. A little bit of bleed from the small diaphragm condenser into it. Then what they'll maybe do quite often is, no, you can't do that thing with a 57. There are people that do that where they twist the capsule round, and there is a company that makes that L-shaped one, which is kind of nifty, yeah. But anyway, and then with a 57, you know, you can mic it so that it's hearing. Pull it back. You can pull it up. Are we having a problem with the audio? Somebody's saying that there's an audio issue as well, but there's only one person that said that. Testing out the idea of it's glitchy. Sounds fine. Audio's fine. Okay. No issue with audio. People are saying okay. So a couple of people are having, and a couple of people aren't. Audio's fine. Audio's cutting out. Audio's fine. Well, if some people are having and some people are not, it's not, unfortunately. Audio sounds good. Audio's fine. It's glitchy. Some people can't. Yeah, that's weird how it's happening for some people or not. When I suppose that's just the bottom line. Where, you know, if some people are having and some people not. Yeah, the image has been frozen. Yeah, anyway, God bless it. Anyway, sounds marvelous. Most of the time it's okay. Hearing audio fine. So there's no consistency. So it's 50% of people say it's fine, 50% say it's coming occasionally. Yeah. Anyway, I want to wrap up and I want to say a couple of things. We're going to do more on this. I think we've hardly scraped the surface. Hardly scraped the surface. What we should do is we should do one just on drum miking alone. That could be 2 hours on just that. You know, this has been absolutely fine. Will you do me a favor and let me know where you all are? I really would love to know where you all are. This is, you know, such a wonderful thing. I just love knowing how incredible it is that everybody's here. Daddy Drum Lesson, you're in Germany. Wonderful. Where in Germany? And how did you hear about the live stream? Was it YouTube that's telling you about this? Are you getting a notification? So if you haven't already, please, please, please subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, there's a little bell under these videos. And if you hit the bell, it's supposed to send you a notification. Oh, Facebook let you know. Okay, the email, YouTube. Yeah, just the newsletter came up great. Denmark, oh, fantastic. Germany, Stuttgart, Finland. And you use the bell. Okay, cool. So that shows it works. So use the bell. Thank you for liking and the dinger, notification and calendar. We try to do an 11 a.m. every Thursday. Monty, you can download the tracks. You're in Wisconsin. Thank you. Messenger notification because of the bell. So please, if you haven't already, everybody, please subscribe. Please like. Please share. Please do all of the wonderful things that help this channel grow. And if you haven't already, sign up for the email list. You're going to get a bunch of free goodies. And if you're not already a member of the Academy, about 50% of the people on here are members of the Academy. And they're really amazing and they help each other out. This has been absolutely wonderful. Please download the tracks. Please subscribe. Please hit the notification. I woke you up, Brian. I'm very sorry. All right. Well, I really appreciate everyone's time. Thank you ever so much for watching. Thank you. We love the Academy. We love having you in here. Anne's from Alpha Centura. Thank you. I'm glad to hear that. Pismo Beach. Thanks, everyone. You're awesome. Have a marvelous time recording and mixing. Thanks, Ron. You rock. I'm not going to throw you under the bus, but I want to. Microphones, Ron. Croatia. DTP 640 dual element. You don't have to take the 57th, the condenser. Yeah, it's really good. My friend Michael, who's Michael Stucker, who is a professor at Indiana University, told me that he just got all the Lewitt mics over there, the whole thing. They gave him the whole thing to try out for the students. Prague is so beautiful. What a beautiful place. Paris. Oh, you can't be the only French person here. I doubt it very, very much. We have a lot of French viewers. Yeah, 57, 441 bottom. Anyway, he was telling me that all his students were freaking out about that dual capsule and using it over there. Australia, Venezuela, living in Prague. Wow. Amazing. Thank you ever so much. Have a marvelous time recording and mixing. Please like, please share, please subscribe if you're not already subscribers. Please subscribe. And apparently you have to hit that bell, because if you hit the bell, you get notified when we're going live. We usually go live on every Thursday. Have a marvelous time recording and mixing. Once the video is up, please don't hesitate to leave more comments and questions below. It usually takes them about 20 minutes to get their schnizzle together here at YouTube to do that. Sorry it froze. I wish I could do something about that. Thank you ever so much for liking, for sharing, for being incredible members of our community. You are the best. Have a marvelous time recording and mixing. Speak to you all soon.